Hi traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. So let's grab the bias chart and let's get started with our morning analysis. Um, okay, let's go over to the euro. Oops, went the wrong way. All right, so here's the euro dollar. Obviously, here's the daily chart. And you notice how we're just still stuck, inside inside of this wedge. Um, what else we should notice, and let me remove that, and let me remove this here. You'll notice how the lows are making their way higher too, and this is concerning if you're on the short side of the euro. Take a look at that. Now, um, obviously, I'm going to say it again. Resistance is up here near 110. We made a nice pivot off of this trend line support, and this is going to be really key. I mean, if you want to know where critical support for the euro is right now, it's right here. Now, remember, we do have Draghi speaking a little later today, so with Mario Draghi speaking, he could indeed, um, he could indeed sink the euro if he really wanted to. Oops, I grabbed the wrong. Well, let me here. Okay. You can see this is really key support, and Mario Draghi, if he wants to talk down the euro in front of European Parliament today, he could do so. All right. So don't think that this support is out of reach right now. All right. The lows here come in at 108.09. The low right here comes in at 108.14. So I'm going to put 108.10, 1.0810. Really key support right now, and let's watch that level. I mean, that level is going to be very, very critical, and and we're not too far away from there right now. Now, if you're trying to figure out where resistance is, let's go over to an hourly. I didn't want to be on a 30-minute chart. Obviously, I don't think resistance is going to be up here today. That's not something that we're immediately at risk of testing, I don't think. But I do believe that, well, we're not too far away from here. This 109.10 level could very easily be tested if you take a downtrend line that looks something like this. Okay, we could easily get up here. I'm going to write down this 618. We might even struggle ahead of that, obviously, right here. Okay, obviously we can struggle on an approach like that, but 109.10, we'll write that down. We'll write that down for today. Okay, and it's still very much a range bias, no doubt about it. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at the cable. Now the pound, we had a good manufacturing PMI report today, and so that helped the cable up towards well, the spike high that we routed to 143 and change. But notice this underside of this trend line. Okay, now I'm gonna have to go back to Friday, or so here we are on Friday, right? Like, hey, watch this support right here. I actually bought the cable on Friday. I bought it at like 143 and change, and I sold it like 143.10 or something like that. I sold it at 142.95, and I took like a 15 pip loss or something on Friday. But you'll notice that we came down. We actually, I bought it down here. I'm sorry, I bought it down here. I bought it at 142.10. That plunge came through, and then I sold it at 141. 141. like 95, and then it ended up rallying all the way back here. Okay, it ended up rallying past my entry point. I just took a small loss on Friday trading the cable, and but you can see we've actually grinded higher here, and what we're doing is we're testing the underside of this trend line now. All right, so the underside of this trend line is obviously very important resistance moving forward. So that's going to be 143.15. I think we can probably give it all the way back up to in that previous spike low right there. I'm just thinking later today. So 143.30. And I think the cable is trying to, establish a range down here. I really do. I think it's, oops, it has been very bearish. We're trying to form some sort of bottom, like a inverted head and shoulder pattern, false breakout on Friday. Okay, pulled us all the way back down here. But still, I think we're trying to form, develop some sort of bottom here. As I've been talking about the last week or so. Right now, support, it seems pretty obvious to me that all these spike lows, you can see how we spiked down here to 142.40. We've come right back up again. We'll give it a little bit more room than that, but this 142.25, that should offer some pretty decent support today. These dips are being bought in the pound right now. So 142.25. It's not great support, but it is support. All right, let's go over to the Swissy. So if you haven't noticed, the dollar or the Euro Swiss is above 111. The Swiss is weak, guys. The Swiss currency is extremely weak. Now, here we are in the dollar Swiss. That's the previous resistance from right here at 102.25. But that's actually rejected us, and it's interesting because we've been higher than that. So it looks like we're trying to flag here right now. But if we dip through like 102, it's probably going to pull us all the way back here to 101, 101.20. Okay, for today, I don't want to write down 102, although that's something that we should be aware of. It's just because we're sitting on it basically right now. What I'd rather do is I'd mark down 101.20, which I know is really key support. And then also, if we come out and we take out these highs here, this 102.55, there's this 88% retracement's not too far away, but like 102.55 or so, if we take that out, we might gun for these highs, because then that flag pattern will be playing out. So I don't think there's much to do with the Swissy just now, right at this very moment, but I have to admit it's really strong and it's holding up well. So support is at 1.0120. That's obviously key support, and then 1.0255 is resistance. We are in a range. Okay, here's the dollar yen. So the dollar yen, as I mentioned to you guys, first and foremost, the dollar yen is sitting, it's 200-day moving average. This is the SMA on the daily chart. It's right here. Okay, so we're basically, sitting right underneath it. I don't think that's going to hold. I actually think that we're going to break higher. I don't think the 200-day moving average is going to give us much relief. And I'm short. I'm short a little bit. I don't mind establishing more of a position in the dollar yen, but I plan on trying to do that higher. A couple of you guys have cited the Mark Chandler piece over the weekend. Frankly, I haven't read it. Ron in our chat room was saying that Mark Chandler is targeting 123, and then or 123 and change. And somebody else says he thinks that the dollar yen is going to go to, dollar yen's going to all-time highs, or the yen's going to new lows, not all-time, I should say new lows. I don't agree with that personally. I'm looking at the dollar yen as a possible move up here to 120, 123 basically. I think that this is possible. This is a possible retest, so I'm prepared for it. I don't want to see it go much above there because, like I said, I think this is building a longer term, like a wedge. So I think we can make a move up here. Personally, and like I said, I'm prepared for it. I'm prepared for a move up here, and then I can add. I just, I don't know if we're going to new highs. The dollar, the BOJ's move on Friday was, like I pointed out on Friday, it was symbolic. It was symbolic because it's not the dip into negative rates, or it's not the amount of dip in the negative rates. It's just symbolic that they would do it. And so the market is just currently readjusting. I still think that the dollar yen's got a good bid right now. And I have to point out that today's lows, well, it's 121.05 I think is today's lows, but the 121 level is really key support right now. Okay, it is, and as long as we're holding above 121, I think there's a chance that we move up towards that 123 level. Okay, now if we give back 121, you might start to see some selling pressure emerge in the yen pairs. All right, resistance is going to be 121.50. Well, actually, let me change that back. Change that. It's going to be whatever Friday's highs were. So Friday's highs, 121.68, so 121.70. I think that's the number you need to write down. Okay, and we're still in a range. Let's take a quick look at the dollar Canadian. So the dollar Canadian, wow, crude really took a nosedive, didn't it? I'm surprised the dollar Canadian didn't spike up higher than it did. Okay, check out the Canadian here. So we open up the weekend below 140. We open up at like 139.70 or so. Let's go over to the hourlies here. That is, for all intents and purposes, really key support. Okay. Now check this out. Okay, so we're challenging some pretty near-term resistance, and like I said, crude looks really weak right now. If you look at crude's having a bad hair day. It's down at 32.25, and it's still dropping. This dollar Canadian looks like we're going to spike up, and if we spike up back here towards 141.50, I think I'm going to get on the short side again. But it looks like, if you ask me, that we're going to make our way back up here. Okay, so resistance today is going to be these highs, 140.90. Forget that spike for a second, but this should offer some resistance, 140.90. Okay, and then I'm going to write down, obviously, It's 139.50. Actually, probably just write down that support. That looks like more key. We did an overshoot over here, just like we did an overshoot over here. So this is at 139.65. 139.65, and then resistance is at 140.90. Okay, and we are in a range. Like I said, I think the dip below 140 this last week and today, and I think that's now put us in more of a range here. I think we're going to be able to sell up here, buy down here, and just kind of play a range for a while in the dollar Canadian. At least that's what I'm hoping. All right, let's take a look at the Kiwi. So here's the Kiwi. There is nothing to do with the Kiwi right now. The RBNZ met last week, but the Kiwi rallied last week anyway, and that was due to risk appetite improving, last week towards the end of the week. So I think for now we're still stuck between the 64 and we can probably take this down here. I mean, and just say 65.50 roughly, really good resistance here, real strong support of 64 cents, and not deal with it right now. I mean, it doesn't look, why would you want to put yourself in a situation trying to get long or short the Kiwi dollar right at this moment? There's no real reason. Okay, so I'm going to write down 0.6400 and 0.6550, and it is in a range. And you guys know how much I hate being in a range environment like this. I really, really do. All right, let's take a look at the Aussie. All right, here's the Aussie dollar, and the Aussie is very similar to the Kiwi, but we're trying to develop this inverted head and shoulder pattern with the Aussie. I mean, we're trying. On Friday, I think we closed just above where we needed to close, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we did. I mean, we closed above this 70, 70 level that we talked extensively about on Friday. We've been a little bit lower today, but we're still bouncing around here. You can see the big inverted head and shoulder pattern. The 618 is capping us at the moment, and I'm assuming, hold on really fast, let me check something. Okay, I'm gonna write down the 618, obviously, which comes in at 71.35, and this trend line. You think about a dip, like just think about the Aussie dipping right here, right? Ooh. As we approach like this area. Really big congestion zone around here anyway. So 70 and a quarter, 71.35. I think you got to play it like that. 70.25, and then you have 71.35, right? All right, we are in a range. Trying to make our way higher, but really ultimately just in a range. All right, guys, when I come back, we'll do the dollar index, we'll do the peso, the Nordic currencies. I'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Happy Monday to you. Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. It's still a very, very slow day. I mean, we are still seeing, weakness in the equity markets, and that is creating, some dollar weakness as well. But nothing that's too exciting. And the dollar Canadian, you'll notice that we were just trading around the 140.50 level, and we've just, that was with the dollar Canadian. With crude oil dipping down towards like 32.20. We bounced back in crude a little bit, and then that just kind of sunk the Canadian. So the Canadian's having a really difficult time up here, and like I said, I think the Canadian's trying to develop some sort of top. I want to sell it a little higher. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to sell it up towards 141, where 141 and change, where I really ultimately want to sell the Canadian if I can get it. I just don't think that I'm going to head up there, frankly. But let's take a look at the peso, the Nordic currencies, and the dollar index. We're going to start with the dollar index. So here's the Dixie. And you can see we're just inside some resistance here. I guess that was a pretty key rejection, huh? Look at that. We've been, actually, you can see we've had this line here forever, right? Big rejection here at 99, let's say 99.80. That was key. So we're going to have to do this. Probably like this, something like that. And I'm guessing here, but 99.80, support at 98.60. Okay. I know it's far away. I don't think we're going to get down here today, so I actually should probably give us a little closer support here. So let's just bear with me for a second. We're at a 38% retracement right now, 50% retracement, a lot of support through here. That comes in at 99.10, okay? So 99.80, 99.10. And we are in a range, as much as I don't like it. All right, let's go over to the peso. So the peso, pretty much, I got out of this, I got out of it last week when we spiked down here into the, into the 20s. We didn't quite make it down to $18. This is where I thought we were going to get to. But notice how the peso is coming up to some resistance up here. And that's pretty key. So peso 18.35, 34. I think that's going to offer a really good place to be on the short side. I might actually get short some pesos up there. So 18.35. It would still be actually 34. It'll still be counter trend because I still think that this is in a bullish trend. Okay. We have to get back below 18 before I think we're going to be in a range, a little bit longer term range. Support right now is 18.10. So getting short some pesos up here probably is not a bad idea. Okay. 18.10 being support. Let's take a look at the Norwegian krona. Now, the Norwegian krona, really critical support is this trend line support, okay? And this is we're still in an uptrend, but this is a really, really key support because I think if we break through this, we might dip quickly from 860 to 840, which would be this trend line support here in the 618, right? So 860, obviously you got to pay attention to this because you know, it's being affected by crude oil, which is the market that seems to be moving the most right now. So 860 and 875. Actually, I'm probably 859 is probably going to be a better support. And then 875. Still in a bullish trend. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Swedish krona. Big rejections at key resistance, but still, there's not. I'm not excited about this currency at all right now. There's nothing to do here. Okay, so here's your bias chart, and let me go ahead and take some of your comments this morning. Okay, first comment.